Welcome to Sam Outside. I'm Sam, and I'm outside. I'm going to be sharing a couple videos in a much different space. Yeah, I've come home. Not home where I grew up. Home in where I started my career 25 years ago in camping and outdoor education. I'm on my 2 weeks holidays. Yeah, it's a 2-week working vacation. Every job I've had for the last 25 years has involved taking these 2 weeks off. It's the end of August, and currently in a different role. I'm still in a supervisory role and working in camping, but I come back to this place because of the impact that I have and have had over the past 25 years in summer camping. Right, I've had a lot of different opportunities in different positions, but I cut my teeth in camping 25 years ago on this land. And as much as people say they stay in camping because of the people, yeah, in part that's true. But for me, I fell in love with the land, right? This property has over 700 acres and really operates on about 200 of them. But it's the 700 acres that I've had a chance to explore. In fact, the path that I'm on right now, I wasn't here when I started. It was literally a deer path. And the dog I owned at that time, another border collie, who needed his steps, take for a walk, and I didn't want to walk around the property this time of the day when everyone was still sleeping, so I just found a deer path, followed it around the lake, accessed other ponds. But there's just something about this forest, about this land. It feels different, right? When I'm at home, there are sections of the forest. Maybe it's the coniferous trees or access to certain vernal ponds. But this forest, there's just, I can't explain it. There's something different, something older, something more natural about it. So I'm about 400 kilometers or 2.5 hour drive northeast of where I call home, which is already a couple hundred kilometers and quite north of the Greater Toronto area. So being that much further north just gives me access to a little bit of untouched lands. So the forest itself is just some larger trees, some older trees. It wasn't logged as intensively because of its geography, but also because of its terrain. The area that I'm in globally and nationally is quite unique in that the geology of the land just has some very unusual formations. It's considered the gem capital of Canada because there's no significant deposit make it worth mining, but you can find traces of just about everything. And in my career here, I have had opportunities to take campers on a little field trip to experience beryl mines, all right? Access to aquamarine and emerald and ruby, topaz, a lot of tourmaline, right? On this property, there was a turn of the century, there was a copper mine. In fact, there are places on this land where I can't use a compass because it just dances. The geology is so unique, right? Rich in iron. I know there are some uranium deposits in the area. So again, there's no significant amount, but what makes this area known is a mineral or a semi-precious stone known as sodalite, right? It's a very unique blue, not as blue as, say, lapis lazuli, but it is very unique in its blue hue. In fact, when this area was visited by Queen Elizabeth, sodalite was mined and commissioned and brought overseas and now decorates part of Buckingham Palace with the blue stone called sodalite. So the largest sodalite mine is the Princess Sodalite Mine, right? So a little bit of that because I grew up with a love of geology and is still part of my life. My dad was a prospector, among other things. But I grew up with that ability to read the stone and find veins of quartz in granite that would allow for other precious metals. So I grew up with that eye. But walking this land is just, the forests are very unique, and it wells up in me the opportunities for different nature connections. And a lot of it does have to do with the trees, but I've harvested off this land. I've harvested in its waters, along its trails, in its forest, and I've had opportunities to share this land outside of these 2 weeks. Growing up with the director and the director's sons, I spent some winter holidays here, ice fishing and exploring the trails in winter. And in other aspects of my professional career as a certified arborist, some of the challenge course, they've got a zip line, and those structures need to be inspected annually. So I would, and I still do, come back and visit the property off season to do a arborist tree risk assessment for insurance purposes. So I get to see different parts of the property different times of years, because I'm connected personally and professionally to programs I've helped create. So I've had opportunities to share what I know with so many other institutions in the industry, and this property has been a big part of that. It's now a family tradition, right? My partner is a co-director for these 2 weeks, and my children have grown up, literally grown up from infancy, well, in the womb actually, and now they share some of the responsibility of working, running programs with my wife and I on this land. So yeah, when I say I've come home, it really does feel like that, right? The hemlock stands, as I travel these ridges between ponds and wet spaces, they're corridors for deer and for moose, for bear, wolves, and I see their signs. I find rubs, I found antler sheds, and I've had some close encounters, right? But it's part of that life, right? Just rich in beaver, marten, porcupine, grouse, turkey, everything, right? So the biodiversity that exists on this land is absolutely amazing. So part of my job is to do pre-use inspections before the kids get up, before the staff come and engage. And just to give you a small example of what it is that I do, I'm out here at the bottom end of the zip line, right? And you can see the cable behind me. So that's why I'm out here on this walk, for the dog, for myself, but also that that pine tree right there. It just towers over everything else, and so kids climb up about 50 feet. Zip line's installed at about 60 feet, and they ride down and they land in the water in the pond behind me. All right, so part of my job this morning is to take a look at the cable installation, take a look at the tree health and the ground anchors, walk the trail, make sure it's still accessible for groups that are going to enjoy this today. So nature heals, and camping does provide opportunities for growth through play. That's what I believe. Made a career of it, and that can play take many different forms. But adventure therapy or wilderness therapy, all right, getting kids to face fears like heights or water or just being out in nature. Right, that's part of what I believe, part of what I do. So yeah, when I say I've come home, I genuinely look forward to these 2 weeks. Never had 2 weeks holidays. I've always taken them. In fact, I've been denied these 2 weeks holidays more than once in my life. I've taken them anyway, suffered the consequences, been fired, reprimanded for insubordination. But it's always been a negotiation. every interview I've ever had, this land has come up because of how important it is to me and how important these 2 weeks in this area are to my family. It's non-negotiable. Oh, sure, there are going to be reasons later in my life where I won't be able to do this, but I will continue to do what I can for as many as I can, as often as I can in nature. Right? So, there are some living things in this forest that I can't find at home, and I look forward to revisiting old paths, old stands, and seeing old friends. There are many people who come for these 2 weeks for the love of the programming and the effect we have on campers, and not as many of them are as familiar or as connected to the land. But everyone here, and about 550 campers, 250 staff, which includes, all the departments from administrative, kitchen, housekeeping, maintenance, and of course our coaches. We're all here with one common goal: safe, positive experience and connections. And part of my role is to not only help young people and adults connect with themselves, with each other, but also with the land. All right? It's a core belief. It's who I am. It's what I do. So when I encourage people to go outside, it's just me sharing me, what I believe, what has helped develop me into the successful, capable human being on the other side of your screen, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. All right? Smells different, it feels different, sounds different. It's all the same stuff that I have at home, but it's just put together a little differently. So it has a different effect. I felt it 25 years ago, and I felt it every year since. I'm looking forward to feeling it for many more. So, a little bit of a nature moment. Thank you for watching. Thanks for letting me share. Thank you for this connection. Please, go outside. Find your happy place. Find your happy place outside. All right. I'll talk to you again soon. More to come from this forest. All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.